Grants are a little different story than salaries and wages. From 91 to 2000, they more than doubled, and that means the roads, the airports, the harbors, that's everybody. Everybody gets touched by these. Rural Alaska, urban Alaska, road system, ferry system, runways, everybody gets affected by these grants. A couple of examples of them that are relatively small. The Ketchikan Aquarium, Beans Cafe is a soup kitchen in Anchorage. I don't know where this Boy Scout camp is. I think it's north of Anchorage in the Willow area, but I'm not positive. Botanical Gardens. This money goes everywhere. I could have gone on with page after page of examples of the grant money that flowed into the state of Alaska. Somebody's going to build the Ketchikan Aquarium. It's probably going to get designed by an Anchorage architecture firm. It's probably going to have some match money matched by an Anchorage bank. So just because it's in Ketchikan, I can't go, oh, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter to me. It does matter to me in my hometown. And here's the problem. What do you think happened right there? Anybody? What happened in 1996 that caused that line to start going up? Ted Stevens became the chairman of the Appropriations Committee of the United States Senate and thusly one of the most powerful people on this planet. And it is not an overstatement. What do you think happened in there? Ted Stevens stepped down from being the chairman of the Appropriations Committee and is no longer one of the most powerful people. That line will continue down. He's in the minority now. Another 6 years, he's 6 years away from the chairmanship of the Appropriations Committee. Just like our legislature up here, new members come in, everybody wants to move up the food chain. Everybody wants to have a little bit more prestige and get these other jobs. And when they get those other jobs, they want their line to go up for their state. So the grant line and the money that's going to flow into the state with the military, I don't think goes down, and you'll have no way of saying what's going to happen with that military spending for all those wages and salaries. Have no illusions, this one's on its way down. Now Senator Murkowski and Senator Stevens give speeches before the legislature, and they say over and over again for the last 2 years, you have to start matching some money yourself. The state has to start paying its own way. We will not be able to do the things that we've done in the past. And some of it is procedural things, and a lot of it, flat out, is the money that they can bring home. We'll have to start doing things ourselves. Procurement, a lot of that will depend on what happens in the military, but a lot of it also will depend on the supplies being purchased for all of the grants. Okay, on to the second third that we've got here at the North Slope. Go ahead. A few just interesting facts. From 78, when oil started flowing into 2005, the market value is $239 billion of oil. There was about $64 billion in production costs, and the state got 77. I don't know how much the feds got. The feds was the other portion of that. And if you talk to oil economists, they will argue all of these numbers. But generally speaking, when I get this from the economists at the university, they say this is roughly the way it has been over the course of Alaska. And once again, I realize how important seafood is here. I grew up in King Salmon, I get it. I get how important seafood is here. But look at the money circulating in the economy of the state of Alaska, and the tourism, mining, and seafood, once again, they pale. You don't have $2 billion investments made in a new seafood plant or in a tourism facility that you have here. The numbers are overwhelming for the feds and the effect that oil and gas has. Another thing that has changed that affects the economy of the state of Alaska, right now we've got about $40 billion in the bank, depending on the market did today. $14 billion have been paid in dividends. Since 1982, if you have a family of four, $100,000 you should have. I don't know where mine is, but it's not there. Households, let me use my father as an example again. Most people hold a lot of their wealth in their house. Doesn't matter how the economy is doing. And my father, once again, is a retired federal worker. It doesn't matter to him. They're not going to fire the weatherman at the National Weather Service. The economy is going to go up, the economy is going to go down, the pie grows, the pie shrinks. His job is safe. But if he bought a $300,000 home and home values drop, he is at risk. In Juneau, they had a headline in the paper that said, in the last year, your real estate values have dropped 6%. So if you own a $300,000 home in the last year, you lost $18,000. It is money out of your pocket. It doesn't matter if the economy is going well. Your value, your wealth was in your home, your job could be perfectly safe. And still you lost the $18,000. So if the economy starts to decline, if you work for the federal government, like my father, you work for the Sierra Club, and your paycheck is coming from the East Coast, from fundraisers being held on the East Coast, your job is probably safe. Your wealth is not, if you have it in your home. In the early 80s, and some of these numbers are going to sound familiar, 85% of the state revenues came from oil. Right now we're about at 90%, but it's roughly the same thing. Building permit values in Anchorage, as we were booming, over $1 billion. And the way that things worked in the late 70s, we had $8 billion of private sector money that had flooded into the state of Alaska. They built the pipeline. You could not fail if you owned a small business. Somebody would be willing to pay you $20 for a hamburger. It didn't matter. The economy in the lower 48 was in the tank. It wasn't doing well at all. That drawed bankers up here. So we had everybody and their brother was up here lending money. So the competition as a business person or as an individual homeowner, you could go get money, you could play banks off against each other. The economy up here was so red hot. There was so much money circulating around because of the pipeline being built. The day the pipeline was finished being built, the private sector money slowed down dramatically. But then the oil hits Valdez, and the money hits Juneau, and the party continued. The needs, particularly out in western Alaska, were huge. You know, when you have running water as a luxury, it's not a good thing. So what the state of Alaska did is we just started, the construction workers who were working on this, they just went to capital projects for the state. So we got all this private sector money. In the early 80s, once the oil hit, we had all public sector money. And there was, once again, so much money circulating around. But then the price of oil dropped. Oil companies lay off a bunch of high-dollar employees. We lost 90% of the new building permits. Construction ended immediately. Immediately it ended. Those people couldn't make their house payments. Those people that could make their house payments, the tax mill rate in Anchorage, the property tax is doubled. We have a tax cap. It's the total tax. It's not on an individual. So if I foreclose or my value of my home dropped, you still have to pay more taxes. The government collected theirs. The government of Anchorage did okay. We just charged everybody more. In the late 80s, 1 in 12 homes in the state of Alaska was in foreclosure. 1 in 12. 20,000 jobs in 86 and 87. My hometown lost about 12% of its entire population. Nothing's really been seen like this on a statewide scale before, since, in my view, it wasn't a recession, it was an honest-to-God depression. And the only community I think that can relate to what happened statewide is probably Ketchikan and other communities in the Southeast, because the same thing happened to them. The rug just got pulled out and it was gone.